Shiaght Laa ten enne met a chléir seo as bobáile am siúa sehaltacha. Sé Robert de Carslach mish. I'm Bob Carswell, and you're very welcome to this programme, Shiaght Laa. In Shiaght Laa this time, Syniru seo je Shiaght Laa. Cúirtí a gherid tan inulgéireann, recent visitors who are Manx speakers. La siúnach vanning as Kayll, the Manx National Day and Tynwald Hill. As crave is goal, and what's going on in the island in the next week? Well, lots in fact. We'll have a look at some forthcoming events and some things that are already up and running. This evening, Thursday the 11th of July, you can go along to the Air and Arts Centre, and at 7:30 the curtain goes up on the first night of a production by Dramatis Personae, directed by Michael Lees, of Noel Coward's classic play Private Lives. There'll be 3 other performances after this evening. Tomorrow evening, Friday the 12th of July at 7:30, and then on Saturday the 13th there'll be 2 performances, the first at 2:30, and then the final performance on Saturday evening at 7:30. Tickets are £12, with a reduced rate of £10 for students and over 65s. Whilst you're in the Air and Arts Centre, you'll be able to enjoy the exhibition in the gallery with large-scale sculptures by Rob Jones using steel and other found metals that have been discarded in the island to give them a new purpose. And with that, there's the work of fine art photographer Sarah Kayll, who particularly relishes what might be otherwise overlooked elements of the Manx environment. There are also experimental pieces created by light and shadows being allowed to fall on photosensitive paper. Other than at events such as Dramatis Personae's performances, the exhibition is open 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. from Tuesday to Friday, but there'll also be special Saturday open days, so look out for those. Ach ligt an go backbegan nis a féidir á Charmaine scan seoil na chumul, vis ginu délia je cultúr vanning as léid jén gilg, mar só géad a veli chau mui jén a Shiaght Laa de corn enam den chléir seo, an óda vel seo an chid chléir sa strai, as na raucéad an chit só rás nis, liam de vel shen mai de luar. Since 1979, the North American Manx Association, NAMA, has cast silver medals to award to young people in the Isle of Man for their cultural achievements. We generally try to have a recording of the awards ceremony here in Shiaght Laa, but unfortunately didn't find out about it literally until the following day. However, I'm pleased to be able to recognise this year's award winners, who received their silver medals from Jane Sailor Murray of NAMA on Wednesday the 3rd of July. Visually impaired teenager, 14-year-old Evie Roberts, received the Manx Community Award for her podcast series Talking in the Dark, which has attracted a global audience for her in-depth interviews, including with Stephen Fry and the Michelin-starred chef Michel Rouge Jr., and her podcasts highlight the challenges of living with visual impairments. Ellis Pearce of Peel received an award for his dedication to the Manx language. Ellis is an alumnus of the Bunscol Gilgach and has kept up the language at secondary school. In fact, he follows his elder sister Fiona in receiving an award for the Manx language. Fiona received an award a couple of years ago. 15-year-old Scott Brown received the award for art for his work, which was inspired by the Manx carved crosses. The award for Manx music was made to 14-year-old harp player Risa Brown, who also performed at the ceremony. And we're hearing Risa playing Katie Lawrence's composition, Dúrach. There were two awards for work undertaken by groups in the cultural field. One was to the Scoil Lorimer choir, and the other was to Insi Gilg, a group that supports young people in learning Manx. As well as the Nama silver medals, there are also awards made at the ceremony for exceptional progress in the Manx language. And Echter en Tynwald, Lawrence Skelly, himself a past president of Nama, presented two awards, one to Frank Kelly and one to Mayan Watterson. Moilia Salia Dawson Ulju hu Rounderen Lina. Congratulations to all who received awards this year. Evie Roberts, Ellis Pierce, Scott Brown, Risa Brown, Cor Scoil Lorimer, Insi Gilg, Frank Kelly and Mayan Watterson. We've heard about awards made by the North American Manx Association on the 3rd of July, and as I stood outside the Bunscoil Ghilgach on the 5th of July, I met a member of the North American Manx Association, someone I met in fact during his visit here 10 years ago. How's session I saw Martin Well. Cyn source the late how Kayll I saw. Cyn how Kunta Jane Lay I saw on Stinwell.
Well, Joe, nimigel edashta stulish fester, Tommy Kayll. But while a hulja rud eggen and show, as nimi shul magiert an ale show Joe.
Okay, right. As towers I saw risk Leinig Shen and face tashin shit the Chuliafach Gazalian Vanning Cray Henku was Cune Visu Go.
Well, a hank me Jiluoing as Hashanulia Ounson Manon Hotel, Jaime das Bella New York, Jimmer agus Family Lord Shani Kizik, Jaime das Port the Hinge. As Honak me in Taitashti, as Famia Kuda Kayll, and an Kudak Christ Russian.
Oh, Dave, there's Kurjan Kuja.
Kurjan Kuja, as fashion mai, as initiation, Haishin das Kulturvanen, Jacrain, as Vashin Gunzacha Gilk, as Kayll, as Bilarish. As Nayashin Vashin Eka Taitashchi an Stulish, Jertain.
Taruch de Lua.
Taruch Vashin Taruch de Lure, Agus Renshin Solje, Jenna Hularud.
Vivi. Well, Ligden goes Jack on as footmush for the grey written on some Chinyalia. Oh, Bill Cassidy, we're standing here in the Bunscoil Ghilgach, and until just now, we've been talking the Manx Gaelic. So, what's your background and how did you come to learn Manx?
Well, my background, I'm an American, obviously, and my background is Irish, from Cassidy, of course, but I've been interested in Manx since I discovered it when I was learning Irish. And then Scottish Gaelic. And I was in a bookstore in New York. There was an Irish bookshop. And they had a column of Irish books and Irish language books. And stuck in the corner was a copy of First Lessons in Manx. And I saw that and I said, what's this? And I began looking at it. I said, I have to get this, learn this as best I can too. So that's interested in Manx. At that time, I didn't think I had any family connection at all to the Isle of Man. I discovered differently later.
Oh, right. Now, coming to it from Irish then, it must have been quite a shock to come across the orthography.
The orthography was a challenge at first, but I think it is in itself extremely interesting. And it's part of the uniqueness of Manx that there's a different orthography. So, I've grown used to it to an extent, though I still have trouble with the sounds sometimes. But when I just listen to the language, say on a cassette, or, well, not a cassette anymore, but on a CD or online, without looking at any printed word, it's actually much easier because to my ear there's a lot of similarity with Scottish Gaelic. So that makes it, that helps a lot as I'm trying to learn.
And is there Obviously, I've met other people from the, I think it was the Association of Language Teachers in America. So is there much interest in the Manx language now?
I think it's growing. I mean, I'm here with the North American Manx Association. We're having our 56th biannual convention here. And we had workshops on Wednesday of this Tynwald week where we had 22 people at Culturavanan taking workshops in Manx music and dance, and a folklore tour of Tynwald site. So, they certainly all now know how to say Moramai, Kistau, Tambi Brau, or even Gullas Gagan. So it was really great to see the enthusiasm of people for learning, because that is something that is relatively new, because it's not been as well known, I think, among the people of Manx descent in North America. Time goes by and lots of things get forgotten. So it's really good to be back here with these people and to see that interest revived and refreshed.
I was saying, back here, of course, this is not your first visit.
This is my second visit, and actually we met on my first visit, so that was 10 years ago, so it's been a long time. A few things have happened since 2014, but I'm hoping to be back here more in the future, and in fact, NEMA is planning on coming back in 2028, so we'll have even more opportunity to renew our connection to the island and its culture, and for those of us who are learning Gilk to persevere and keep on with that.
And how have your experiences this time compared with your experiences that first time?
Just as good as the first time. Obviously the first time everything was new. This time it's just as enjoyable to do some things that you've done before, such as Tynwald Day here at St. John's. But also, we're doing new things. We're going to different places that I hadn't been before. It's also really, from my perspective, as someone who is very interested in Manx and Gilk and the Manx culture, it's very encouraging to see how much the use of the language has grown in the past 10 years. You living here, it may just seem more of a regular progression that may not even be as noticeable, but from the outside perspective, coming back, I see much more Manx in use. We're here at the Bunskall. There are 60 students or so here now. I've met actually someone who was working here who's a graduate of this Bunskall. So you can see over generations now the impact that this school and that the recent language movement from the 90s is having on people. And that's a great thing to see.
Bill Cassidy, Gurmai Morad.
Gurmai yet.
Bill Cassidy of the North American Manx Association on what has been only his second visit to the island. We'll return to Ballykeelyon, St. John's and the old Midsummer Fair Day a little later. In mentioning Bill Cassidy as a Manx-speaking visitor to the island, also in the island recently was Steve Kayll, originally from Liverpool but now living in Yorkshire. And in Yorkshire he met Paul Rogers, who of course used to teach at the Bunskall Gilgach. And with Paul, Steve started to learn Manx. This was Steve's first ever visit to the island, but he came along to the White House in Peel on Thursday evening and joined in the Manx conversation with James Harrison, Rob Tier, Bridget Kermit and myself. Myself, Molia Solia de Steve Kayll. As was in lot mechion een slienu Kayll, as ta sin smunion de wel Kayll maren mar slienu sin alienish, ach dim re Steve der au kius de lucht on taid en enam shen begeert leervol. De J.J. Neen grade de wel chit by Mac Cahoil, Mac J. Pecher B is enam Caholair. For nerd ons doelish or Kayll homish troget, seblein hochi jeg as nigh as died, eg bun J. na henk de vei red na killach marina, van trailest en trail jorish na vad greirish se verl, Kayll's slip, schlauwen Kayll for thee. Henk unloch taid en enam Kayll gus an alien, van Nolban, mus shach he jeg as queg jeg as died, as van manche Kayll shen the win ye moor san aglish heselach. Henk slucht ege de vei turneren, as va ferjau alta en cheres feed. Na jai de rauwad grey an regera Arthurish, vad greirish the menic, an regera Arthur, a guy. This coming weekend, Douglas Choral Union Choir will be holding a summer concert, showcasing the Douglas Choral Union Choir itself and bursary recipients. Led by their musical director, Steve Dakin, there'll be a wide repertoire to be enjoyed, with well-loved show tunes, of course, and other popular songs. The first of their summer concerts will be on Saturday evening the 13th of July in St Peter's Church in Onchan at 7:30. Tickets are £7. Then, on Sunday afternoon, the 14th of July, at 2 o'clock, the Air and Arts Centre will be presenting the Douglas Choral Union Summer Concert. Tickets are again £7, but just £2 for under 18s. As nish ligt yn gol back as Kayll Llaan, as yn Charmaine is for gull cwmwl o'n sien Shiaght Laa. Shiaght Laa de henne me vissu geestiach rische chleisio chaus di gull scalia maach, fast de jedain, en chiad la jeg Jerasauri.
Erdfrw inzit, order G and Hwel, the vei currit for Hera.
There we heard the voice of His Excellency the Lieutenant-Governor, Sir John Lorimer, speaking from Kayll Llaan, Tynwald Hill, in Manx, something he specifically requested, and of course the first Lieutenant-Governor ever to do so. He was instructing the first Deemster there to have the court fenced. So now we'll hear that in Manx, we'll hear more of Sir John Lorimer, and we'll also hear His Honour the Second Deemster John Needham promulgating one of the laws in Manx, one of 6 that he promulgated on the day, before we conclude with the Lieutenant-Governor again.
Tammy Corn Whale Shaw for Hera, ons enem Charn Vanning. Nach Jin Pecheby, Troja, Baggart, na General Borenas a Bee, as the Jin the Hully Fech, Fregert, Trevissi Ernane. Tammy Cora Cortus Ernane is Shaw, the Well and Whale Shaw for Hera. Tammy Cora Cortus Ernane is Shaw, the Well and Whale Shaw for Hera. Tammy Cora Cortus Ern Clenane is Shaw, the Well and Whale Shaw Nisjach for Hera.
Vroonen inzit, Tammy Gaymak Eru, the Thogla Mach Gusel Thobul, Ern Shenach, ne Lein Shen, Tavad Jin Nen Slatson, Unsen Vlein High, as Tan Yeven, e Code Riol.
Slatus Trastian as Trace Jaili, feet he tree as feed. Slatus Taliasica, Slatus Trace Jaili, feet he as Nain. Benton de Kerman Purkan as Fregatus Trace Jaili. Taliasica, Slatus Trace Jaili, Nahi Jeg 3 feet as Nain. Benton de Purkan Trace Jaili as Purkan a Kayll. Taliasica, Slatus Caglian Liol, Nahi Jeg 4 feet as Kier. Benton de Shooten, Nai Cooch Sail Trastian. As Taliasica, Slatus Rain, Nahi Jeg 4 feet as Geese. Benton de Karen de Gedden Chitshak to Chitfos Traced, as Sonoran Enukelia, Benton de na Cushion Shaw.
Mesalish Pazunan Urbi, Achina Kor, Ligdau Nish, Chitkion Got Rune. Verum, na Harkonnen Show, Gusping, Raylan Bain, Tynwald, Vermach Brunis Oru, Halia as others ad. Sure, Jaran a cushion e call Kayll Llaan. Beside Quail Tynwald Nish, Unsa Kayll Riol. Marish na Brunin Inzit, Captain Nes Karakun, as Ferelia, Ta Jaglin Kujak Unshow, Salium Sayaka Jai, Quira Uchtaren Tynwald, the Vey Quin Fanish Egg Sai Quail Tynwald. As a vein and vanishin, Jai Ferica, ne Slatison, Venan Vogla Mach Jew.
In fact, one part of Sir John's words were talked over by an over-eager James Davis on commentary, just a matter of seconds in fact, but I've slipped in the corresponding words from last year's ceremony. A Ghilge Kayll Llaan, the Manx language on Tynwald Hill. As nish gysyn yr ein a siwnach. As remmi smunyn so nôl draw ei guller clai ag y fan la Tynwald. Ged de wel het reikes aan bannen kochonel trishejacht en kage reacht u neen zit de chit as de klei en chwegolai jerasauri, Shan Kayll mutte. De oru ginsige en arena schoenach de klei maar aren jen charmenes eg bun Kayll. We vogelen en arena schoenach, haag rannigen ol ukujach, scoot eg W.H. Gill. As de leeuwetje in des jint jou, Lorish J.J. Neen. Ligt een klaasjen en gidranne jen versioen se gilg.
O hadun en we, o chlegin nespoir
We started off there with Ruth Keggin, joined by Ellen Clegg and Christy de Haven. Bridget Madrill joined in, then Carishtina Docherty, Chloe Woolley and Kerran and Crystal Stitt, and finally Claire and John Kilgallen. There's actually a variation that J.J. Neen offered for the fourth and fifth lines. We heard there, Ta de style rail tie, mar barul na high. Literally, your throne of home rule, like barul, is seated or set. An alternative is Shiga Taderd style Farachdan Morbarul, literally certain or secure is your throne, remaining like Barul. It was only in 2003 that Tynwald finally gave official recognition to the national anthem, although it was first performed on the 21st of March 1907 at the Guild, the Manx Music Festival. The words were written by William Henry Gill, W.H. Gill, who arranged the music for the collection called Manx National Songs. He set his words for the national anthem to a version of a tune called Mullagheren. Of Mullagheren, Charles Barrow wrote in the 1820 first published collection of music from the Isle of Man, the Mona Melodies, that "This is, above all others, the favourite tune of the Manx." Isaac Dale's Mona Melodist of 1842 calls it the Isle of Man national air. The traditional song in the Manx language about Mullagheren is a strange blend of themes. It starts with Mullagheren explaining how he came to find some sort of treasure in the curragh. Then Mullagheren's daughter criticises his ill-matched footwear, but he tells her that she'll not be ashamed when she finds out what's in a large chest that he keeps. And then there's a final part where someone else complains that Mullagheren was the first person in the island to give a dowry on his daughter's wedding. Despite those strange themes, the tune which carries the words was described by T. Brown as having a depth of ineffable melancholy. In Canon John Quine's 1897 novel, The Captain of the Parish, Chapter 10 is about New Year's Eve. The fiddles struck up a few sharp notes, he writes. The music began. They were playing Mullagheren. There was a profound stillness, and in every heart an uncontrollable thrill. The quavering melancholy minor of the Manx air, full of the sadness and sweetness of old times and old faces and old things, made tears well to the women's eyes, and the men affect to look unconcerned. This was the tune, then, on which W.H. Gill based his national anthem, for which he supplied 8 verses. There's only one verse which could be described as secular. Let storm winds rejoice and lift up their voice, no danger our homes can befall. Our green hills and rocks encircle our flocks, and keep out the sea like a wall. The other 7 verses are all couched in Christian religious terms. The first verse is interesting. O land of our birth, it starts. W.H. Gill, who wrote the words, was born in the west of the island associated with the 3 legs. But they were 3 bare legs on which the head of Medusa is superimposed, because W.H. Gill was born in Marsala, in Sicily, where his parents were some of the many Manx families there involved in the wine trade. Some more music to enjoy on the week now. First, 3 events as part of the Isle of Man Arts Council's concert season in the Villa Marina Arcade. On Sunday the 14th of July at 3 o'clock, you can hear the group Saxequential. The Villa Marina Arcade will be the setting for the Castletown Metropolitan Band at 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening, the 16th of July. On Wednesday lunchtime, the 17th, from 1 till 2, the Villa Marina Arcade will be reverberating to the sound of the Wurlitzer in a concert with David Lowe. So that's 3 events organised in the Villa Marina Arcade by the Isle of Man Arts Council. Elsewhere now, on Wednesday evening, you can go along to St Thomas's Church at 7:45 for a concert by Manx Voices, conducted by Angela Stewart. And meanwhile, St Patrick's, the parish church of Derby, is once again host to Tales of the Derby Mice, with a special presentation of A Year in the Life of Isabella Victoria Rose. You can see the various parts of the story between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m, with proceeds going to support further church repairs. Siareinish fine Claire Shaw, Shiaght Laa. That's it from Shiaght Laa this time, and so from me, Bob Carswell, as Masov on Peen, Robert de Carslach, Slennew.